What makes a favourite child? Do you have a favourite child? Are you allowed to say that you have a favourite child? What would happen if one of the children found out that they were or were not the favourite child? Oh, we're tackling the big issues in today's Doctor's Desk episode of the Happy Families podcast. We're so glad you're joining us. Real parenting solutions every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. Kylie, were you the favourite child in your family?
I can't answer that.
Why?
You'll incriminate me.
No, but really, were you? Do you think you were? You're one of three sisters. Well, you've got an older half-sister as well.
My sisters would all say that I was.
Really? Do you believe that? Did you feel that?
I'm going to push back really hard on this whole favouritism thing because I don't think it's about favouritism, but I think that we have individual relationships with people, whether it's our children or whether it's our friends or acquaintances. It doesn't mean that we favour. I push against it.
Ask me.
Were you the favourite?
I have no idea, and I think that's how it should be. What I would hope is that everyone. I'm the eldest of 6 kids. And I would just hope that all of my siblings feel like they were the favourite child. I don't necessarily feel that I am the favourite, but I certainly don't feel like I'm not the favourite. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you can talk to pretty much anyone, and at some point in their lives, they felt like they weren't the favourite, though.
Yeah, when I was 16 and being really rude to my parents, I was definitely not the favourite at that point.
So this is why I push against it, because when I look at the dynamics in our home, at different times, different children have needed more of us. And it's very easy to look from the outside and say, oh, she's your favourite because you're giving her all the time and attention. But it's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with having a needs-based approach. And at this point in time, whether it be health or emotions or just time, this child needs more.
Whenever really cool research lands on my desk, we talk about it on the Happy Families podcast. There's a brand new study just published in the last month or so in Psychological Bulletin. Psychological Bulletin is a highly regarded psychological journal. And this one is called Parents Favour Daughters, a meta-analysis of gender and other predictors of parental differential treatment. Meta-analysis, it's a study of all the studies. So,
well, that means we've got 6 favourites then.
We have 6 daughters, so therefore they're all the favourite. I know. The researchers had a look at 30 peer-reviewed journal articles and dissertations and theses and 14 other databases. In all, they looked at nearly 20,000 unique participants in all of these studies about favouritism, talking to the kids, talking to the parents, the studies, trying to work out how favouritism works. Here's the very short version of a very big and very carefully conducted study in a highly regarded journal. Results showed that when favouritism was based on autonomy and control, that is, a parent's able to sort of just enjoy the kids without having to be heavily involved in their lives, then parents tended to favour older siblings, which makes sense, right?
It's almost hands-off parenting.
Yeah, when you've got an 8-year-old, middle childhood, doing pretty well, and then you've got a 3-year-old who is tearing the house apart and you've got to lift everything up high and put it on the high shelves. Or maybe that's an 18-month-old. But you love that 18-month-old, but they're really needy. They're really whiny. They always want to be picked up and carried. And you've got this 8-year-old who's just nailing life. Like, it's like, you get it. You're raising. I mean, it's going to get worse in a few years, and then you're like the younger one because but essentially we really like it when the kids can function autonomously, when we don't have to be too controlling over their lives. I should share this with my mum. I'm turning 50 this year and she's still trying to tell me what to do. Maybe I'm not the favourite after all. So here's where it gets really interesting. The research showed that parents tend to report favouring daughters. And I think that's because there's a general rule. I mean, I'm writing this book. I'm finishing my book about boys at the moment. And there's a heaviness when people comment on social media about their sons versus their daughters. Parents generally worry about their kids, but when I talk to parents about their sons, there's, I don't know what the word is, Kylie, there's genuine concern. But what if my son X, Y, or Z, in a way that parents don't worry about their daughters. It's tangible. It's palpable. You can feel it in the discussions. So the research showed that our parents are favouring their daughters more than their sons, and here it is in terms of personality attributes. Conscientious kids and agreeable kids definitely receiving more of the favoured treatment. And I think that's probably why you were the favourite, because you were always a conscientious contributor to the home. Conscientiousness is this character trait of doing the things that you say you're going to do. It's just being around and being present. Agreeableness, it means that you're not creating fights and contention. Now, that makes sense, that these are the kids that parents like more than the slightly neurotic children, the slightly extroverted and over-the-top kids.
This is where I push back again, because that's such a shallow perception.
Oh, really?
I honestly, I feel like just because your child is challenging and just because there's a lot of pushback doesn't
mean that they're not your favourite.
No.
I like my kids that I fight with the most. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm not saying. I'm also not saying that because my kid's agreeable, they're my favourite. They're easier to spend time with.
Yeah, more conscientious children had relatively less conflict with their parents, so therefore they were perceived, either by the parents or the child, as being the more preferred child as a result of the reduced conflict. That's really what the researchers are getting at there. That's what the findings are. So the short version is this. Kids that are conscientious, kids that are agreeable, kids that are female, who do often tend to be conscientious and agreeable relative to males anyway, and kids who are older tend to be more favoured than kids who are younger. After the break, we're going to tell you how to not fall into the favouritism trap, because research is pretty clear that if you are a non-favoured child, that there are all kinds of social, psychological and self-esteem issues that can follow. All right, Kylie, we've got a bunch of ideas for how we can help parents to not esteem one child more highly than the other. I have this activity that I do with educators. I do an emotional intelligence workshop. It's probably my most popular workshop. And around about sort of 45, 50 minutes in, we're talking about the idea of self-awareness. And I ask a question. Think about the students that you understand the least. Think about the students that you understand the most. How do you respond to them differently? What's your body language? How do you treat them differently? Think about the things that you talk to them about and how much you talk to them, all that kind of stuff. What's the difference between the students that you understand the most and the ones you understand the least? Now, here's the thing. I used to have the word like the most and like the least. But a bunch of teachers said, oh, no, we like them all. We really, really, truly like them all. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because some kids are really, really tricky in a class of 30. But I changed the word from like to understand. And I feel like this is a critical contributor to our conversation about favouritism. You're just much more likely to get along better with the kids that you understand. And studies show that when you understand someone / like them, your body language, your posture, your eye contact, you're
right?
Totally.
You're completely open.
Sentences are longer, less clipped. You're less direct and abrupt, less directive and corrective.
And more times than not, you actually look for opportunities to connect.
So I guess my first major point here is that if you're concerned that you could be slipping into I prefer this child over that child trap, which does have tremendously big impacts on their self-esteem across time and throughout life, start to wonder about or look at how you understand them differently. Which one do you understand better and which one less? And lean into the one that you understand least. Find ways to understand them better. I think it'll make a difference. The way I would say it is see their hearts.
What's your second suggestion?
Times and seasons. So we're currently raising our 5th 15-year-old daughter. Well, she turns 15 in a couple of weeks, but it feels like she's been 15 throughout the last 3 years now. And the reality is that there are some times in life that are just harder than others. So most people would generally agree that the toddler years are tricky. And most people would generally agree that that time frame from around 14 through 15, maybe even 16.
I reckon I'd take toddlerhood over teenagehood.
Sure, but if you haven't had teens before and you're dealing with your first toddler,
I think
it's really, really hard, right? So the second thing that I want to emphasize is just that you might understand them better at some times than others. They might be more agreeable at some times than others. They might be just more inclined to get along a little more at sometimes over others. So times and seasons is my second one, and I only have one more idea. The idea is this. We need to find joy. We need to find ways to experience joy, pleasant conversations, fun activities, laughter, delight, time to look into one another's eyes, the opportunity to really understand one another. We need to find joy in our relationships, and that means time together. And when you spend that time, it's really hard for kids to feel like they're not the favourite because you're spending time with them.
For a parent who's really struggling with a child,
yeah.
The idea that
I love how you said a parent who's really struggling with a chore. That's what it sounded like you're about to say. Sorry, chore, child, almost the same, not quite.
The concept of finding joy with that child feels burdensome.
Yeah.
The reality is it really is about finding opportunities to connect because joy will come with connection.
Yeah.
But if we make joy the focus, we might feel like we're failing miserably.
Yeah, I think that if you chase the happiness, if you're really trying to make it happen, it doesn't tend to happen that way. It feels forced.
Well, and it feels forced, yeah.
Yeah. But if you can just find a way to enjoy time together, or just be together and do things, do the things that they want to do, they're going to feel like they're the favourite because you're making time in your day to spend that time with them. So favouritism, it is a thing. It does have negative impacts. We can overcome it if it's happening in our lives, especially if we've got daughters who are definitely winning the favouritism game. If you'd like more information about this particular study, we'll link to it in the show notes. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. If you'd like a lot more info about how your family can be happier, we've got all the resources you need at happyfamilies.com.au.